Welcome to Pop Your Shit.
I am so nervous. Like I don't sit and talk to you on lives before, but this is just different. So
Well, why? Because I got questions. That
yes,
foolishness that you just wrote.
that and candidly, I'm an introverted extrovert. I'm an extremely private person, so stuff like this makes me sweat.
I don't even know why.
I don't either. But it
It's me. Stop worrying about them in the comments. Let's jump right in
okay.
because I got questions.
Oh my gosh.
Because, ma'am, now I know what everybody was talking about.
Did you finally read something? You did, didn't you?
I read it
Oh, good.
this morning. And when I was dead, I was like, I know she fucking lying. Wait a minute. So wait. We'll get to the ending. And I'm sorry for those that have not read it. It might be a few spoilers because I got questions. Okay. So I read Thicker Than Smoke.
Uh-huh.
And this is your intro into the Ravenhurst community.
Yes.
So for the people, so that they know, is this considered urban fiction? This is urban fiction in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
Ish. It's Midwest-ish. Because I was like, I know she talked about what a damn jitney is, but what the hell is a jitney?
You know what? That's so funny. I was wondering, I was like, you know what? People probably aren't going to know what this is, but I don't care because I know what it is. It's in the hood where I come from. So the jitney was like the old school taxi cab. So, like in Nebraska, where I'm originally from, we had in the neighborhood, in the black neighborhoods, this jitney stand. It was this yellow building. And basically, it was like old black guys who provided rides, and you would pay them like $3. And you could call, you'd be like, I'm just going to call a jitney. You didn't have to call a taxi cab. And you would call the jitney, and they'd pick you up and take you where you needed to go for $3. And it would just usually be like these really older black men who probably were like pawpaws, who were like retired. And usually, like for me, I know like we would, once we had one that we liked that was a little bit more talkative, or if we liked the vibe, we would get their number personally and just call and be like, hey. But that's what it is. It's like the old school Uber. But we still have the jitney stand in Nebraska. It still stands today.
Does it still work?
Now that I don't know because I don't live there anymore. I don't know, but I know it still stands.
Because I was
That's
like,
good because like the good thing about it is like urban romance, it's not just one thing, right? And so I'm coming from my perspective in the Midwest, but even all of the Midwest isn't the same if you think about it, because I'm from Nebraska originally. Nebraska urban is not going to be the same as Chicago, which is Midwest, right? Michigan, Detroit, very different. We have very different styles, difference. I think we talk more neutral in Nebraska. We don't really have an accent like that. At least I don't think so. But yeah, that's jitney is just like think Uber in today's times, but think it's like these old black men giving you rides.
but
And in hindsight,
it's kind of like Northern and Southern California. Everybody thinks Northern and South California is the same. Northern San Francisco is the same as LA. It is not.
no.
It is hugely different. The way we talk, the way we dress. They do colors down there. We don't do colors. We do like hoods, blocks, like 77th and Reddsdale or 82nd and this and West Oakland. You got, those little areas down there. It's not the same as Southern California, where they may have this hood, they have the Bloods, the Crips, and then the Hoovers, and then the this and then that. It is totally different. Even though we respect one another, it is totally different.
Yeah. That's the beauty about fiction, because this is all fiction. And I don't know, we may get into it because the communities that I come from, like I'm a newer, I guess I'm considered like a newer author. I am a newer author. I'm like a baby author over
No,
here.
you're not.
I
How many books
kind
do
of
we
am.
have? How many books did I post? Because I know I posted well over 6 or 7 books. It
Yeah,
was like
like six or
10.
seven. But in this space, here's what I'll say, in this book talk space, I still feel very new. It's a very different space. Because I'm a creative and I do other creative things and I run in other creative spaces.
True.
And the book talk space is a space I've like no other. Like it's a space that I've never experienced, and I've experienced a lot of different spaces because in my life I've done a lot of things, been in a lot of groups, been to a lot of places, seen a lot of things. But book talk is the most unique place I've been for so many reasons, and one with the urban, the whole connotation around urban still throws me because it looks different for everybody. So nobody can, I don't think one person can define it because my urban experience is not going to be the same as yours in California, as somebody in New York versus somebody in Miami versus somebody right here in Houston. I moved to Houston. I was like culture shocked because I was like, this is not the kind of urban that I'm used to. But so me, I love urban romance. I love urban fiction. Like I love it down. And before I was reading more of, their urban,
Mm-hmm.
like J.R. Ward is one of my favorite authors, and she writes like her stuff would be considered urban if you ever read her like vampire series or whatever. But and I never heard such discourse that I hear on the black side of book talk when it comes to urban. So I think for a long time, because I read so much of it, I like to write what I read too. I shied away from it because I'm like, I don't even want to get involved in that drama.
But what is your idea of urban? Because because urban to me is so broad,
It is.
and the negative connotation of what urban, thank you, of what urban is may not be that. So, what's your definition of urban? And then I'll give you mine.
Like I said, and you'll have to forgive me sometimes with my answers, and just keep in the front of your mind that Rowdy, my real name's Tracy, but Rowdy is an Aquarius. So I think a little bit different sometimes. So I'm going to say this. I think personally, what urban is to me is a setting. It's the environment. It's the vernacular. It's the circumstances that arrive from the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if my story is set in an environment that is an urban environment, meaning, if it's in the hood, basically, or is what I'm from my perspective. It's more about the setting because even if I write characters who speak a little bit of proper English, but they still live in that urban setting and they still have to go through those same experiences in those type of neighborhoods, to me it's still urban fiction.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think I like I said, I don't think one person can define it. I think it means what it means to each individual person. And I think my what I worry about or what I stress about a lot is that in our community, people are forcing people to have one mindset about what stuff is instead of allowing people to absorb the story and have their own interpretation because that's what art is. It's up for interpretation to the individual, as I like to define it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you read my stuff and you think it didn't seem urban to me, and you have valid points about why you think that because of how you grew up or what your thoughts are, I'm like, but if you're doing it into saying it's not urban and it's some kind of malicious intent behind it or nefarious, or you just want to spark up drama, then there's that. But I think it's too hard to, I don't feel like you can put it in a box. I feel like each person's answer is going to be different, and it should be.
My idea of urban is the same. It's the same thing. So, for instance, I grew up in Oakland. If y'all don't know, I'm Oakland, California. So I am the land of Too Short, E40, MC Hammer, all those people. Okay, so we get it. So I grew up in the city. However, I grew up in the hills of the city.
Mm.
So I may talk like this sometimes.
Hmm.
I may say like, oh my God, like, are you for real? And we went up the hill and did all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I may sound like that. And then I might sound like this. If you don't get your ass up here up this hill,
Right.
it's code switching, right?
Yeah.
Just because a person has a lived experience in an urban setting does not mean everybody has that same lived experience.
Yep.
Not all men are pedophiles.
Right.
Not all men are take things that they're not supposed to have aggressively
Hmm.
without permission.
Yeah.
But there's still this there's still this community of people where things like that happen. It's still like that. It's still things like that where there still are how can I say it, non-legal things are
Yeah.
going on. Right?
Illegal things.
There's still a pimping going
Right.
on, but that still happens in other communities too. It
Right.
happens in the South. It happens in the rural areas. It happens in the suburbs. It happens everywhere.
It does.
We just don't write about it. We write about it too. The
Yes.
other people on that other side, they write the same stuff, but y'all don't call it nothing different than what it is. I think it was Tosh, and I'm going to quote her again. She said, the palm colored writers, dark romance is our urban fiction.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I read a lot of their dark romance, and it's just urban fiction. That's all it is.
That's
Like
all it is.
that's
But
it.
you don't say anything about that dark romance. You don't say anything about the those paranormals with the dragons and the witches and the dragons with 47 things coming out of them screwing every damn hole. You don't say nothing about that. Why not?
Because we are Americans and all we love to do is rage bait. So here's what I'll say. When TikTok went away for 24 hours or however long it did, I went to that other app. And the interesting thing, it was so nice that when I opened it up, I saw just beautiful things, like people creating beautiful things, wearing beautiful clothes, celebrating beautiful culture. And then when TikTok came back, and the first time I logged on and I told my business partner this, I was like, I just felt like I was being yelled at. Like it was just all this rage. Like every post, somebody was yelling or complaining, and I was just like, it was so toxic. And I think that unfortunately, we have all been conditioned to be rageful, we always have to have something to gripe about and something to like. And really, it is fiction, y'all. I'm like, this is fiction. Regardless of what genre it is, it's still fiction. It's not real. It doesn't matter. Do you like it or don't you? That is really the
Simple as
question.
that.
What, just like Linda Martell from Beyonce's album, genres are a funny little thing. It is up for interpretation sometimes. I know we can have the official people, whoever they are, that decides this. I don't know who they are, but whoever decides these genres, this is based off their interpretation. And then they're dictating to us, right? These are the genres. And I'm like, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I just think we like to rage bait, and infight, which is crazy because, again, I come from like an indie film space. It is not like that. Everybody there is like, we gonna support. We not fighting over nothing. Like, we're all gonna help each other and big each other up and support. And there was something very sort of special about indie filmmakers in that space where traditional filmmakers would give you so much love and the community would be like, you are doing this on your own, and that takes work and money and time and guts.
Right.
In this space, indie gets treated so poorly. That's a lot to unpack for me because I don't understand why you would down anybody who took the initiative to do something all by themselves and actually do it. And it's not going to be perfect because nothing is. But I can't believe we live in an era where creating a book, like a DIY book, you don't get sort of the respect that you would in other careers. Like in filmmaking, I'm telling you, you are an indie filmmaker. They're like, that is great. Everybody's like, keep doing it. This is great. Even in the writing space, outside of book talk, everybody's very supportive. That's why I'm like, people think it's amazing when you sort of go elbows deep, right, and do your shit, and you're successful and you work at it. But this space, they're like, oh, these indie authors. It's so weird to me. It is so weird. Like, I can't figure it out.
It is very weird, but that is the point of Pop Your Shit. That is the point. That is the very point of this. It's because indie authors need to be highlighted.
Yeah.
Indie authors need to be celebrated. If nobody's going to do it, it will be me.
Yeah. And it's I don't know, it can be a little, I question it and I find it a little disappointing. And it's really only in our space because they don't really do that in their spaces. They embrace their indie authors.
It's
And
called brainwashing. Let me tell you.
yeah, but
I
we
read
have so much knowledge and we have so much, like, we don't have to stay. I don't know. I'm a consummate student, so I'm always learning and I'm always like trying to evolve. And I don't know. I'm still trying to crack this book talk space because every time I log on, there's like something crazy going on.
But you know what? You can't. You have to turn down the noise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's only us where our history is being erased, or they want to erase our history. It's only us for them to tell us how we should feel about who we are and how you treat me. I'm supposed to be grateful that you even are paying attention to me and that we can stay in this country. It's only us where we built this country and we don't get our just due. It's only us in this book space that talk shit, and I'm gonna call it out about each other.
Yeah.
Stop doing stuff for likes and clicks. Be yourself. If your self is being toxic, then okay, you do you. I won't be joining in.
Right.
Be yourself. Read the damn book. Enjoy it. If you don't like it, don't read it.
Don't read it. Yeah.
Nobody's holding a pew pew to your head to say you got to read this book.
Right.
Nobody's saying that you have to read a particular genre. Nobody is telling you that you have to finish the book. I happen to enjoy it. I happen to enjoy Thicker Than Smoke. I did. I've enjoyed. I've read. What is it? The Assignment. That was my very first book that I read from you. I've read Love and Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was my favorite. Huh?
Yeah, because Amir was getting it in.
Baby, baby. I was trying to get to, what is it, Thorn and
Thorns and gloves.
I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to get to that in Vanessa's Choice. I didn't have enough time, but trust me, it's on my everlasting TBR list, and I'm gonna get to it this year. But I enjoyed it, and I love your interpretation of your idea of urban fiction as a soon-to-be author.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
As a soon-to-be author, my idea of urban fiction may not fit y'all definition. It may not, and I live in the inner city.
Well,
So,
it's a good story.
right. And just understand, just because it's your lived experience may not mean that it's my lived experience. And my
Yeah.
lived experience may not be your lived experience. Simple as that. All right, moving on. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the story. Okay, so Drex and Hollis.
Yes.
I love Hollis's name.
Thank
I
you.
love that it's a male name for a female.
Yes.
Nev got the hell on my damn nerves.
Let Liv make it. Oh God.
Well, apparently she's making it all the way to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
But did they kidnap old girl?
I can't tell. So I'm not going to tell you, but I will say it picks up right where it left off. Her story is next, and it's coming out probably the week of my birthday. February. My birthday is February 11th, and because they're novellas and they're fun to write, I'm writing these so quickly. But it picks up right where it left off. So yes, we will be in Costa Rica and we will be in Ravenhurst. And listen, I will say this: I am a character writer. I don't outline. When I say pantser to the max, like I mean hardcore
Just
pantser.
slide out the seat of your pants, huh?
Yes, these characters talk to me and tell me what is going to happen. And when I like if I sit down and think, okay, I think I have an idea for this story and I start writing, somebody is going to take over this story. So like in Thicker Than Smoke, interestingly enough, the reason Hollis's name is Hollis is because I was going to make that a holiday novella. And I was like, what's a name that I could give her that's kind of jolly? Hollis, because like Holly. So that's how I came up with that name for her. But what happened when I started writing it, the characters did their what they always do, which was take over the story. Because it was supposed to be where like a second chance, yes, but urban. But I knew I wanted them to have had a bad breakup or whatever. So as I started writing it, Hollis was like, I'm really down and out. She's telling me like I'm really down and out. And I'm like, okay, what's going on, girl? And she's like, yeah, I just got out of prison. I'm like, what? That's not the story I'm writing. I was like, what? But I can't try to interject my own story because I won't be able to write. I get stuck. So this story just these characters it did what it did. And even with Nev, she wasn't supposed to be a part of it. So when it came about with Hollis was like everything is her fault, I guess. Nev came in and did her thing, like fuck shit up. Like I didn't realize how much until people started giving me like feedback. But and then Drex came in and I had him in mind. I did. But he also took over a lot of it and he wanted his perspective because initially I was like, oh, this is a novella. It's from Hollis's perspective. And he was like, no. And so he started taking over chapters and I just was like, this is a whole different story, but I like it. And don't even get me started on Nev's story because this is wild. And I'm writing it, and I keep talking to my business partner. She's in here, gun shy. And I'm like, I have no control over this story. I'm like, they're doing things that this is not what is happening. It is a shit show.
But I'm about to choke. Why does Nev always got to fuck up Hollis's life? What is that about? And why the hell are we gonna know why Hollis went to jail? I need to know more.
So, yeah, I think you will. So, all of these little novellas are like quick hits, right? But it's one world that we're weaving together. Um, Nev, you're gonna find out Nev's issues, like what drives her in this next book, Marked by Fire. Nev she really has. I don't know if I want to spoil it or not,
Don't
but
spoil it. Don't spoil it. Hold on. Get out.
he wants to come and be
No,
patted.
this is Cookie. Take your toy and go out.
He
Go.
wants you to be patted.
And she gone. She coming here with this loud ass toy. Sorry. See, all out of fucks today. All out of fucks. Get out.
Not Nan.
But Hollis, okay, so Nev blows everything up. She
Yeah,
blames
like
she's
right off the
always
bat.
if she's her saving grace is always Hollis. Is she gonna grow up? Can you tell us that?
Yeah, so I'll say this. When you think of this world that I'm creating and these characters are who they are. Okay? None of these characters, given the world that we're in, are striving to be better people. They already are who they are, if that makes sense. So you will see growth. It may not be the growth I think people want to see.
But it'll be something.
Yeah, because Nev, as I'm writing this story, she is telling. Actually, it's really crazy because the male character, the main male character, his name is Johnny. And when he entered, the minute he stepped on the page, he took control of my story, first of all. And we are getting to know Nev through him, which is crazy because this is not his story, like, not like that. But he made it his story because he's such a strong character. And you learn a lot about her as she learns about herself. Like where she goes and the stuff that she's doing is helping her understand herself and why she behaves the way she behaves. But that don't mean she's gonna change and be like a good person.
Right.
She's going to grow and into who I will say this. She's going to learn how to harness her traumas and things like that so that she is in control as opposed to letting her emotions and everything else control her.
Okay.
That's the journey she goes on in a very chaotic way. I mean, I be feeling bad for Nev, and I think that's why I like her so much because I feel like she's getting put through it, especially in this book. Like,
But
Nev gets her ass
it's
beat.
her
Like,
own fault.
yeah, but she
Somebody
has
told you to go to that man's house and try and bribe him.
yeah, that was the thing is, I didn't know it was going to kick off so quickly. I really thought I was writing more of like a kind of an urban holiday romance, where it would have been second chance. But right off the bat, Nev came with the drama. She did. Hollis just get home from her dead end job, and here her little cousin is bringing drama to her doorstep. And with her ex who dumped her terribly a long time ago. So it kicked off pretty quickly. And the story just I wrote that really quickly.
Okay, so let me ask you. Why didn't the hell didn't she run when he had what was her name? Oh, what was
Oh,
that? Sassy.
Sassy. Because she was scared.
Girl, get your ass out this door.
But remember, he had some of his other crew there, some of his other guys there. So, well, more importantly, and as I was writing it, none of this dawned on to me until people were pointing it out because, yeah, she didn't try and run. And then she literally was like, my cousin Hollis, like she literally just threw her cousin under the bus and was like, she's dating somebody, he's got money. And I'm like, everything is Nev's fault. Everything.
Everything.
Yeah, everything is her fault. And I didn't realize that, but she has reasons. And you guys will find out Marked by Fire. You will find out why she behaves the way she behaves. You know what? I just hope that people, it's so nuanced, her traumas. Um, and I hope that people aren't like, that's not enough. She did too much damage. Like I fear that people don't like her so much that they're not going to be empathetic towards her in this book. But
She will. She'll get her reprieve. I'm sure. I'm sure she will. I'm sure she will. Let me
I
ask you
hope
this.
so. Because she gets done really bad in this book, and that's why I'm like, what? It's really terrible. She
But it
gets.
might be just her story. Her story is her story, whether we like it or not. Her story is her story.
It is, and they telling it, and I'm not trying to deviate because I will never get it written. Because these, if the characters stop talking to me, then I stop writing.
Um, why in the hell was Hollis there at the pew pew
Oh,
fest? Why would he let her go? I'm gonna need
so
you to stand on business, sir.
so I know why Hollis went. Hollis wanted to go because think about, he left her to protect her, right? He wanted to go and build up his little underground business, and he knew that was going to be dangerous, and it was very dangerous, and he didn't want to bring danger to her, right? So he was like, okay, done with her, or break up with her, leave her to go pursue being a hustler. And he did it all to protect her. And from her perspective, she feels like if she can prove that she can hold her own, he won't feel the need to like be super protective if like his enemies are like, oh, his gal's pretty tough too, like she can bust too, she can hold her own, maybe they won't use her against him and he'll feel better about it. That's where she was coming from. Because she did grow up in Hollow Park. She grew up in the hood too, but she very quickly, we learned that Hollis needs to not
Sit your
go.
ass down, ma'am.
She needs to not, but she wanted to, I think she just wanted to prove to him that she could fit in his world, and like he didn't have to worry about that. Because it was very traumatic for her how abruptly he ended things with her after being so caring. Like he did, like they were together when they were in like high school, and he lived in the Cut, which is the super rough area in Ravenhurst, and she's in Hollow Park, which is like barely a step up. But oh, this is thicker than smoke.
I
But
was just typing it to her.
oh, but I think that's from her perspective. And he was like, I think from Drex, he just didn't have time to keep trying to convince her because, for one, her little cousin fucked up his entire plan. Like, he already knew Kenan was trying to take over his business, and he already had stuff in place and a plan that he was going to go in and execute and take Kenan out, and Nev just like ruined that basically. So he had to speed it up. So I think, yeah, he just didn't have time. So he was like, fine. And besides, he was like, I'll chuck her up away from the action and it should be fine. But of course, it wasn't.
I was like, he got away. Are they gonna catch him ever? Maybe.
I'll tell you what, when they catch Kenan, the series is ended.
I'm not playing with you.
Because look at this. So Ned, as I write each novella, a character emerges that tells me my story's next. So as I'm writing Nev's sort of story, There is a character in there who's like there's actually two characters right now that are like, we want our story, but one of them, she's like, my story's next because I'm about to do some shit that my story has to be next. And then she did it. And I was like, why would you do that? Her story's going to be next. When I say, I hope people feel sorry for Nev, and I hope that they be like, oh, okay, we like Nev, because Nev gets put through some shit in this book. Now that I think about it, like she gets all the way to the end. Nev gets done. She gets done really bad in this book. And it was not the story I thought it was going to be. It really isn't. And so I'm like, it's a whole different
Gunshot
story.
said good.
No, it is no Nev, but she grows into the person she's supposed to be, but she gets lumped. She gets lumped. I mean, and what
She get
happened?
her ass beat like she's supposed to.
Yeah. And then today, the chapter that I wrote earlier today, is where I was like, why, what? I can't believe you did that. And she did it. The character, her name's Zoe. She is, she is terrible. She's terrible, but I like her a lot. And my thing is, I feel like people are still gonna hate Nev, even though she's getting her ass beat and all this stuff is happening. But they're gonna like Zoe. But Zoe is terrible, and what she did today, I couldn't believe she did that. I could not believe she did that. I just
I'm just waiting on the book to come out because I'm ready. I'm invested.
It'll be out in probably like 2 weeks. I
Because I
just
need to
gotta.
know what's gonna happen with Neb and Zoe and Johnny, and then I need to know why. You got some explaining to do. I need to know why that lady was in jail for 2 years. I mean,
Yeah.
she had just got out of jail. Why that lady got put in jail, and why? I need to know. I understand why, but I need to know if it's still gonna be some tension between Drex and Hollis.
Yeah, well, probably, yeah. In this story right here, marked by fire. Well, there's going to be a little bit of tension. You're going to see them in this book because remember, well, remember in the prologue, Hollis fully feels like she's taking, Nev's going to a retreat, like a holistic retreat,
Mm-hmm.
and clearly something's amiss. And if Drex set it all up, maybe Hollis doesn't know what he did. I don't know.
I'm not playing with you. Okay. 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's yeah, like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks,
Two
or
weeks,
something
right?
like that. Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am. Miss Arthur, ma'am. So you about to have us going through the rigmarole.
Yes, I hope so. I like all the drama. Yeah. I'm gonna write this until I'm telling you when they catch Kenan, then it'll be over. He's pretty elusive though. I like him too. I really have fun writing his character because he's wild. He's a little bit older and he reminds me of like in Nebraska, like where I grew up in Omaha, there is this street called 24th Street, like where there's 30th and Ames and there's like 24th Street where like the pimps you can find all the old heads be down there, and he just kind of reminds me of those guys. But I was much younger, but I would see them and he just reminds me of them. But he is not a good guy.
At all.
Yeah, we find out more. You'll find out more like about his operation in its totality through each book because I found out that he got, besides like the illegal substances, he's got houses of ill repute. I don't know if I could say that on here, that he runs because one of the characters in Nev's
You
books,
mentioned it.
Huh?
You mentioned it.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, you mentioned what he had going on
Oh, because I'm like, one of the
when
characters from
Drex
this book.
and House was talking, and he was like, "Well, he has this and he has that." He
Oh,
has
you're
this.
right. I sure did. Well, we meet some of those people. We meet one character actually was rescued from or taken from one of his little homes of ill repute. Yeah, these characters are interesting. I love being a character writer because they are nuts.
Let me ask a question. How different is writing a book from screenwriting?
Oh, it's really different because screenwriting, you don't do all the detail. They don't want all the prose because they want to leave the script up to interpretation for the director. So like the director will read the script and interpret the story and how they visualize it. So you tend to not put a lot of description in it. It's mostly dialogue. Um, and then writing books, very prosy, very descriptive, right? So for me, that's the difference. But I'm glad that I do screenwriting because screenwriting makes me visual and it helps me with dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So I become a better dialogue writer and I can visualize I'm an immersive writer and an immersive reader. Like I want to be in the story. Like I want to feel what the characters
Right.
feel. I want to clutch my pearls during them smexy scenes. Yeah. So for me, screenwriting helps the visualization. Like I can see the scenes, and most of the time, I'll see the scene in my head and then write it. Like I have to like visually see it. So that's kind of the difference, but they complement each other. I think I'm a better writer because I am a screenwriter.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's hardest for you to write? What kind of scene is hardest for you to write? Is it the pew pews? Is it the smexy scenes?
The smexy scene is the hardest scene for me to write. I hate writing those
What?
scenes.
You have a vivid imagination.
I I hate writing those scenes. It is for me it is so technical and I I will watch corn for inspiration. Um yes, I have to do that because for one, you you don't want all the scenes to be the same, right?
True.
And it's also technical for me, seriously. And it got harder because I live in Texas, okay? And Texas banned the hub. And so I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna write these scenes? I have zero inspiration. They're so hard to write. Luckily I found another way. But those are so hard for me to write. It takes me days to write those scenes. I am not kidding. It takes me days.
So you have to log into somebody else's account?
No, I'm not telling you. Spilling the beans. I need that for inspiration.
I mean, I'm just saying because I'm.
You do need to share your sites because I
I
need
mean,
help on
I
research.
was getting ready to offer my services.
Oh no, it's just that Texas they blocked it. Like they always trying to control us down here. They's like no for you, no fun for you. So yeah, but that's how I would watch all kinds to get ideas and my particular style of spice that I like, if you'll notice in the men I write, they are alpha. They're pretty dominant, but um, that cuff, we are a fan of the cuff. We are an absolute fan. So you will always find that in my stories. I will say that. But that is the hardest thing for me to write. Like,
Really? I
yeah.
think that would be easy.
Because also I have to think about, what position were they standing up? Or do I have to describe now how they moved to get into this new position? So technical.
Or he has a, what how what the angle is of entering.
Exactly. But see, I have to be thinking about that as I'm writing. So that's why I'm like, those are really hard for me to write. And they're not even, it's weird because I read this stuff from other people and I'm like, ooh. But when I'm writing it, I'm like, oh, can I hurry
That's
up
gonna
with
be
this
my
scene?
challenge.
Oh.
That's gonna be my challenge. Even though I got a scene in my head right now that I gotta write tonight. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I
Well, I saw something and it was like click, click, click. Now it's like on loop. So I gotta
Mhm.
get it out. This get ready to go down. I don't know which characters get this scene, but I'm gonna write it down.
honestly.
um, what do you love about being an author, and what do you hate about it?
Oh, I love coming up with stories. I love writing. I love just sharing these crazy stories in my head. Because like anything writing for me, like there's no boundaries. Like I do not like to, I cross boundaries. I don't like to be boxed in. Like I do my own thing. I don't really care what anybody says. Like and writing allows me to just do that. Like there's just no limitations. And
Right.
I love that about writing. And nobody can tell, because it's fiction, don't tell me what I'm writing is inaccurate or wrong. It's fiction. It's my world. And this is what happens in my world. And there's such freedom in that for me as an author that I love it. What do I hate about it? Oh, having to market, because marketing is not my wheelhouse. And um, I hate it.
Okay, so for the realism, how I hear a lot of independent authors get a lot of flack because they say, "Oh, that's not realistic. It's fiction." What do you
Yeah.
think of that?
If you want realism, you should read nonfiction. Um,
I'm about to flat out the chair.
I'm just saying, like, this is what I mean when I say only in these TikTok or book talk streets do these conversations happen. And maybe I just don't run in those spaces where people have conversations like this because it's fiction. Because I'm like, it's not real. Anything can happen. It's fiction. So you can't tell me that it's not realistic. You know what? You can, and you're right. It's not realistic because it's fiction. Like that's my response to that. So um if you don't, I mean, I read books. I love to read and I read fiction to escape. Like for me it's escapism, whatever that is. I don't expect it to be grounded in reality. If it is, great, because I love those stories too.
Right.
But I mean, I feel like we are in the upside down if you watch Stranger Things, because I'm a nerd, by the way. I love manga, comic books. I love like video games. I'm a gamer. I'm a nerd. But anyway, I feel like we're in the upside down because we all know what fiction means in the literary world,
You
but
ain't
I feel like
no,
we're in a,
no. I don't think people really understand the definition of fiction.
that's why I feel like we're in the upside down, because I'm like, when did we stop understanding what fiction means and then start talking about these books in the literary space in the context of fiction? Um, because if back in the day someone was like, that's not realistic, you'd be like, right, because it's fiction, it's make believe, it's made up, it's not real. Nowadays it's like, dude, you do know what fiction is, but we must be in the upside down because what's left is right and what's right is left in the times we're living in, is how I feel about it. But it's like it's fiction. So I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, let's switch gears just for a second. What are your thoughts on piracy? We've had a few issues where people are taking people's written work or their narrated work and slapping on new covers and putting on other pen names. And then we have people reading full novels on YouTube and asking for Cash App donations. What's your thoughts on piracy for independent authors?
My thoughts are make sure all your stuff is copywritten, one. Two, I'm gonna put lawyers in your life. Sorry, not sorry. One thing ain't finna do is play around in business, and this is a business. So hopefully you have a lawyer, or you can get one, or you can one that's affordable if you can, to give you a cease and desist, because that is insane. Piracy. If you want to read a book for free, go to the library. Go to the damn library. Because it's so insulting and disrespectful. It's just such a disrespectful thing because writing is a craft. It is a skill set. People work at it. I've been writing since I was 13. I can tell you the day I fell in love with writing. I know what made me fall in love with it and where I was and why. And to be working at your craft every day, to have someone steal it is diabolical. It is like zero ethics. And I'm like quick to be like, don't play with me. We're about to put lawyers in your life. I'm not finna get on social media. I'm not finna do none of that. What I'm finna do is put lawyers in your life. So don't even try it. Yeah. So I think authors should take it to the full extent, as far as they can take it, because to let these people know, like, just because we're independent doesn't give you the right to abuse and misuse us. Like, I feel very strongly about that. It's like them there's fighting words. Like, them there's fighting words.
Right.
Like, there's no justification for it. Like, none.
I wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
First of all, one of the things that I found out in this book space is that when you do pirate somebody's work, and they may be under contract with Bazan or have a KU, and then they find out, they not going after you, they going after that author.
Yep.
So they're not gonna have any of her works, because if she does not have money to go get some legal fees, then she's shit out of luck.
Yep.
And that may stop her from writing. And then that means you're taking food out of her mouth, out of her children's mouth, out of her husband's mouth, whoever she's supporting, you're taking food out of that person's mouth. And you're perfectly okay with that. So I hope y'all hear me and hear me well. I hope these authors go after you with every piece of machinery they have.
Yeah.
And I mean that with my whole chest.
Same. Yeah. Because that's wild. Like,
now that's that on that. And it's not funny, but this is a podcast. But again, this is where you learn. This is where you enjoy. This is where you have fun and kid. It is what it is. But again, as an author that's sitting right next to me, and I'm sorry I didn't even introduce you, but y'all know who she is, Rowdy Rousky. Sorry, I just know her already. So y'all better get to know this lady, because this lady is smart as hell.
oh, thank you.
Rowdy, I'm gonna do stuff out of order with
Okay.
you. You gonna pop your shit real quick. Ma'am, tell the people all the stuff you do.
Oh God, what all the stuff I do? Okay, I write romance novels. I write screenplays. I am an indie filmmaker. I direct, produce. I do editing, long form editing. I use Final Cut Pro for that. I what else do I do? Oh, by day I'm a project manager. Oh, that's cute. But yeah, those are all the things I do. I don't know if I left anything out. Probably. Who
So
knows?
you have a business partner that's in
Oh
the.
yes, I'm sorry. I am one half of Rowdy Gunshot Productions. We have an indie film company. I forgot. We launched our own indie film company. My business partner Gunshy is in the comments. Uh, we were making short films, web series, and micro shorts and things like that. We were submitting to festivals. We've won some awards. We were finalists at some things. And me being in this bookish space now, we've decided to do indie book to indie film because we want to help elevate the voices of indie authors, particularly Black and POC authors, but women authors, and give them the recognition they deserve. Because I think that when you think of like book to film, you never think indie and you never think BIPOC indie because they just don't look at us because they think nobody wants to see our stories. And like that's crazy because I'm like, how many people read Black contemporary romance, urban romance? So many. I'm like, these are books and stories that we love and we would love to see brought to screen. And so we were like, well, let's do it then. And so we decided, okay, we're going to start doing indie book to film.
I
And
love it.
we are doing it.
I love it. I love it. And so, where could the people submit their books or their what is it that they need, and then how can they submit to you guys?
Yeah, so we are taking submissions for books to film. And when I say film, let me make sure I break that down because film is all inclusive, right? It can be a feature length film, it can be a short film, it can be a web series like a serial drama or whatever. It can be. We also do book to podcast because some stories just will work better as a podcast, like
Right.
a scripted podcast or micro shorts. So those are all the different formats that we will produce these book to film in. But you can go to our website, www.rowdygunshotproductions.com, and you can submit to the contact us. Or you can email us, and I think it's just I don't know. Gunshot put the email address in the chat so people can. She's probably like, this lady's crazy. So people can put the web address and the email address. So you can email us or you can go to the website. We have received submissions already, and we are going to go through them and decide. We're only going to pick because we're going to do the assignment, which is my first romance novel that I published. And then we're going to pick two others. And so we have received y'all submissions if anybody's watching. And we'll be letting people know. We're only going to let the people know who we decide to go with. And just because we don't pick you doesn't mean we're not going to. It just means we can only do so many at a time. So it would just be like, okay, we pick these two to do first, and then we'll pick these two to do next. So that's where you can go to submit, and you just submit what story you want. Tell us the name of the book, because we have to read it. That's one thing I will say. I read a lot, and so I've read a lot of the books for the people who submitted, and I told Gunshy, I have her reading like everything, because when we do select like books that we want to take to film, we want to really love them, and we want to have read them and understood them. We didn't want to try and take anything that we've never read because it wouldn't make any sense.
Right.
But anyway, that's my long-winded answer.
I just felt that it was important for people to know who you are, what you do, and the value you add to this book space.
Thank you. We got a few connections. We got a few.
I'm just saying.
We got a few.
So back to you just a little bit. One of the issues that I have is finding independent books on shelves in stores, in the airport, in the the library. What's your thoughts on that? How do you feel like you're going to combat that?
My thoughts are what I know so far is that if I wanted to get my books in a brick and mortar, I could. I have to do the work. I have to fill out the paperwork. I have to submit the paperwork and all of that. It can be done. And I said, because I could sit up here and be like, oh, it's a travesty and they never put us in. And that is not true. The reason sometimes we don't get in is because we just don't have either the bandwidth or the know-how to go about getting in them. And the only reason I know is because I have a business partner who stays on the back of my neck about things. And she was like, you want to be in Target? When we were being in Target, but we're not being in Target anymore, guys. Don't worry. Um, or like you want to be in the brick and mortar, Barnes and Nobles or whatever. This is how you do it. And she sent me the information. It was like, oh, okay, I just have to fill out this form, provide all this, and I can have it in the store. Yeah, you can have it in the store. The difference with Indie and TradPub is TradPub does it for you. Like you don't have to do it. They have the pipeline and they do it for you. They fill it out. They do everything. If as an indie author, if you don't know that's what you have to do, then your stuff's never going to be in a brick and mortar. So, and many authors may disagree with me, but I think that's an us problem. Like that's a me problem that I don't have anything in a brick and mortar because I had a business partner who was like, we're going to put the assignment in brick and mortar. You just need to fill this out. And I didn't do it. I didn't do it. So I think I have a different take on it because I know behind the scenes that you can fill out stuff to get in different places. Not everywhere, but a lot of places. And then little mom and pops, usually you could just walk in there and talk to them about what you do, and they're happy to take your, stock some of your books. But again, I probably have an unpopular take on that.
I went into a very popular bookstore here in the Bay Area, very famous bookstore, black owned, and I asked about independent authors.
Mm.
I said, why don't you have more on your shelves? He said, because it's easier to get traditionally published authors in the store. I was
Did you say why?
she's too old to do it. She don't want to.
Oh.
It hurt my heart because I was like, lady, you're missing out on so many good reads. They're not only street lit, they're um, 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 what do you call them? Suspense,
Mm-hmm.
mystery. There are
Fantasy, there's sci-fi.
sci-fi. There's fantasy. There's paranormal. There's so many. That's just contemporary romance. Where is the only for the week? Now that these are things that need to be in your store, man. I can give you a whole list. Where is Jacquel's book? That lady is number one, two, and three on Amazon. Why aren't you looking to see what's hot so that people can come to your store? Because to me, with that mind frame, and these are for bookstore owners, if you ever should see this, they sell.
Yeah.
They sell. The goal is to sell books,
Yep.
whether you agree with the context or not. The goal is to sell books and get these independent authors out there. That's it. So, anyway, that was my thing. So, do the paperwork. If you can't figure it out, ask somebody. Somebody can help you. Um, and that's my TED talk for the day.